Welcome everyone. Welcome to another episode of Coding Talks. Myself Vishnaviji. I'm a .NET programmer, AWS community builder, and cloud architect working with different cloud technologies like AWS, Azure, and GCP. The podcast is available on all audio platforms, leading audio platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, and so on. Also, the verbatim transcription of this podcast is available on LinkedIn, the community builder blog, which is builder.aws.com, and also on the Medium platform. Same podcast is also available on YouTube as well. And a regional Malayalam version of the same podcast is also available. Feel free to check out whatever version is convenient for you. Just a disclaimer before we start. All the opinions, the informations, the examples, and all that I present through this podcast are purely personal and do not represent any of my employer's view in any way. And the topic of today's discussion is about Amazon Q, which is an intelligent AI assistant that can help with your coding or development activities as well as for understanding your business in a better way. The previous name of this service, Amazon Q service, was Amazon Code Whisperer. I think Amazon started that around 2 to 3 years back when they were introducing the generative AI services as part of the AI umbrella. And even though Amazon were using these services internally within, they were actually exposing these services to the general public in the form of Bedrock and also the generative AI service like the Code Whisperer, which was the previous name of this Amazon Q, which were then available as a kind of an ID, as a kind of an extension available to your Visual Studio Code. And it then at that time when I have tried that, it helped me to understand the code better, to generate code, to assist with the development activities, and to give best practices, tips, and suggestions. Those all are still valid actually, but Amazon added a lot of that on top of the service, and they have enhanced the integration as well, and that is what we are going to discuss in today's episode. Now the rebranded name is called Amazon Q, and the Amazon Q is available on different ways, through different ways you can connect with this service and make the best use of that. So if you're a developer, you can connect it in a certain way, and similarly for other kind of roles, they can connect the Amazon Q in a different way. The previous episode, related to the Code Whisperer and to get an understanding of generative AI service, lot of episodes were available in my YouTube channel, and a demo version of the same, a video demo of the same, which I had done around 2 years back, is also available on my YouTube channel. Feel free to check it out if you are interested in that. So today we discuss more into the Amazon Q service. And what is Amazon Q service? It's an AI assistant. You can think of like as a kind of a friend or an AWS expert who is sitting next to you, and you want to ask something to that service, and that service is ready to answer your questions. It can also help you to build applications, especially for enterprises. You need to build applications, and at that time Amazon Q can help you to build application. It can also help you to understand some of the complex tasks as well, especially the existing legacy code base. If you want to understand it in a more better way, Amazon Q can help you to understand that. And the difference in how this is different from a human friend that you have is like Amazon Q is available around 24/7. You can connect with the Q anytime. You can understand the latest features. Even if you have a friend or someone who can assist with the development activities, still the friend may not be updated with the latest AWS features. So you can expect Amazon Q to be updated with the latest AWS features. AWS does on top of Amazon Q, they enrich the model periodically so that you can ensure that it has the latest available documentation, and also it can help you to write code, troubleshoot issues, and also it can help to improve the architecture. Software field is more about improving the architecture in a kind of a regular iterative way, so it can help you to optimize your architecture as well. So if you are a person who is into the software development in any field, whatever language you are using, like Java, Python, C#, you will understand the different versions of Amazon Q. You learn to understand how you can access it from different interfaces, and how Amazon Q automatically adapts to your different needs, how to use the chat version versus the agent mode, and also some of the best practices and tips that can help you to get the best out of this Amazon Q service. Those of you who already worked with other similar AI services like the Microsoft Copilot, Gemini, or ChatGPT may find this information somewhat relatable, but this Amazon Q is optimized for AWS ecosystem. So if you are a person or a developer who work in any language with the AWS, by connecting to the AWS services, then definitely Amazon Q will be helpful for you, because it's better integrated within the AWS ecosystem. And also, recently I had a chance to talk with one of my friend who is working with AWS services. And it is interesting to see, like, he is entirely depending on Amazon Q for his development and other activities related to whatever involved with the software development cycle. And so we could see enterprises trusting Amazon Q, and a lot of enterprises are already started using this service. And that's the reason why I thought to have another episode mentioning about more detail about the Amazon Q service, because when I had the earlier episode 2 years back, it was mainly focused on the generative AI aspect of Amazon Q. Then it was called the Code Whisperer, but actually at that time the context was more focused on the generative AI aspects, like it can help you to understand the code, it can help you to generate the code, and so on. Now, the agent mode is also available on the Amazon Q, so it can do more than what we have seen before, and that all we discuss in today's episode. Let's start with an understanding about the Amazon Q first, and then see the different versions available as of now. So Amazon Q, as we understood, it's an AI assistant. It has two different versions, and it serves for two different purposes. So mainly if you are a developer or a person who involved with the development activities or somewhat related to software development cycle, then Amazon Q Developer will be of great help for you. You can think of that like as an AI coding assistant. This version, this Amazon Q Developer, is specifically for your software development activities. How it helps you is like it can help you to, similar like the Code Whisperer, it can help you to write code, debug issues, explain existing code, and you can also integrate the AWS services into your application, especially if you are working with some legacy systems and you want to integrate the AWS services into your existing application, legacy applications, then you can do that. Whether it's a new application or a existing legacy application, you can use the Amazon Q service. One example is like you may be traditionally using some form of a file system to store the images or whatever form of objects that your application needs, and now you want a more scalable service in AWS, and that way you can entirely retire that old file system and you can connect that to AWS S3. S3 offers the maximum scalable and reliable service for storing objects. It offers unlimited scalability, reliability, and so on. So to connect your application to S3, this is one example. You can, if you are not aware about how to connect to that, either the one way is like either you can go through the AWS documentation, understand about the SDK, and then install that corresponding SDK. If it's a .NET, you can install that NuGet package related to the S3, and then you can connect your applications to S3. That's one approach. Another approach is like if you install the Amazon Q service extension, which is called the Amazon Q CLI, onto your Visual Studio Code or whatever editor that you are using, then you can sign into that extension, Amazon Q CLI extension, and then once you signed in, you can instruct, you can ask questions, just like you go through the documentation. You can ask questions in like a chat mode. So 2 modes are available in Amazon Q Developer, which is chat mode and agent mode. In chat mode, you can ask questions like whatever questions related to your development, or if you encounter some issues with a specific part of the code, you can ask that. That's one approach. Another approach is like you can switch on the agent mode. There is a toggle option available in that extension, in that chat interface itself, so that you can switch over from chat to the agent mode. So what happens when you move that to agent mode is like, now the Amazon Q will understand your prompt and do actions on behalf of you. So if you want to write some code, or if you want to improve or refactor some part of the code, it can help you to do that. And similarly, if your existing code is connected to some legacy file systems to access the files or images, now if you want to connect that to Amazon S3, you can just mention about that, and using semantic search capability of Amazon Q, it will go through the entire file. That is what we call as the context window. So it will go through the entire context of your code, and then it will analyze, it will tokenize, and then it will use that semantic search to identify the related area. Then using the intelligence from Amazon Q, using the LLM model. So the underlying model which Amazon Q uses is called the Anthropic cloud model. And on top of that, Amazon enhanced its capability by adding a lot of custom informations about especially the Amazon documentation and so on. So you'll get the updated information about Amazon Web Services through this Amazon Q service. Basically, the underlying model is the cloud, the Sonnet model. And on top of that, AWS optimized that for their specific purpose. So with that intelligence, it can help to understand your code base, and then from the file system, local file system, it can help you to write code that helps to connect with the newer cloud ecosystem, which is the S3 storage. So the replacement of the local file system to S3 is what our intention in this example. This is one example which I am mentioning. So it can help you to write code, and once it writes the code, you can now see the difference, what all codes it have added. And always AI sometimes can produce incorrect results, so you have to go through that and understand. So for that, you have to go through that, and you can ask the Amazon Q to explain the code that it has generated, and it can help you to understand the code. It can also help you to understand the existing legacy code as well. So if something, a replaceable suggestion has been provided by Amazon Q, you can compare that with your existing code and then see if it fits for you. Then you can accept that suggestion. You can again reiterate and improve that as well. So these are some of the benefits that you will get from using this Amazon Q. And how it differs from the Copilot and Gemini or ChatGPT is that this one, the Amazon Q, is extensively or mainly improved or used for with Amazon documentation, so that you can trust the service. So Amazon has a lot of best practices, and they have well architected principles as the baseline for their development activities within the AWS as well. So that same has been added to on top of this Amazon Q. Lot of internal knowledge, everything has been added, and you can rely on the Amazon Q. So that is one aspect of Amazon Q, and that is the Amazon Q developer. It acts like a coding assistant which can help you to develop an application. The second version of Amazon Q is called the Amazon Q for Business. You can think of this as a kind of an enterprise knowledge assistant. This is important because whenever you are working in some project, in addition to the technical knowledge, whether it is AWS, .NET or so on, you have to understand about the business domain as well. And in that aspect, Amazon Q Business can help. And that's why it's specifically for the enterprise knowledge management. So how it helps you with the enterprise knowledge management is the Amazon Q can connect to your company's documents, wikis, and business system to answer questions about your company, your organization, its procedures, to internal knowledge, and so on. And one thing to keep in mind that the informations, whatever that is used by either the Amazon Q for Business or Amazon Q for Developer, whether it is a code or internal enterprise document, so it all stays within your Amazon account, AWS account. So it's not used for training any models or anything. So it won't go outside that. So that is one of the benefit of using this Amazon Q service. Many developers or many people have some confusions that this can be used for some other purpose. So anyway, AWS assures that these informations are not used for the training purpose. So all the confidential informations will remain within our account and it won't go outside that. And that's how it is working. And then now the objective, even though we have discussed about two different versions of Amazon Q Business and also the Amazon Q Developer, the main focus of this episode is about Amazon Q. Because we are dealing with the development activities, so Amazon Q will be of great helpful, and that's the main intention of this podcast. And how can you connect with Amazon Q and use that? One approach is like if you have an editor like a Visual Studio Code or IntelligentJ, you can install an extension and using your Builder account. AWS Builder account is actually free. You can sign in and you can connect to that. And once it is signed and connected, then it will show like a chat window where you can think of like a chatting with a knowledgeable colleague who can help you to understand the different AWS services. You can go a bit deep into that. Your friend can go a bit deep into these services to explain about the different configurations, and sometimes it can help you to troubleshoot the issues in real time as well. One example is like I'm actually creating a few services inside AWS. Usually, someone in my organization has mentioned like, okay, set up these resources inside a VPC so that the resources will remain isolated. In that case, I can ask Amazon Q from my Visual Studio Code interface, like how do I set up a VPC? And then it can provide informations. It can even help you to do that on behalf of you. And second thing is like sometimes if you have developed certain services, either say for example something in EC2 or Lambda, and let's take an example like your Lambda is getting timed out. When you inspected the logs in Lambda, it seems like, okay, Lambda has timed out after a certain time. So, and that's due to some reason, it is getting timed out. Now, based on the Lambda that you have developed, and if it is available on your Git repo or on your local system, you can ask Amazon Q about it, and Amazon Q understands your Lambda code, and then it can provide contextual answers based on what you are currently viewing in the either in the console or in the Visual Studio Code. The another approach for interacting with the Amazon Q is like the AWS CLI. CLI is a standalone command line interface tool. You can think of it just like the Windows command prompt, where you can open a Windows command prompt and you can create folders using different Windows commands. You can change the directories, you can execute the commands and so on. Similar way, Amazon also offers a CLI tool which you can download from the Amazon websites. Once you download that and install that, you can sign into that. Sign in is required for authentication. So this sign in helps your local CLI to connect with the Amazon, with your Amazon account. So you need an account for that, builder account for that, and once it is done that, you can ask questions. Keep in mind that there are two different versions of CLI. One is AWS CLI, which help you to connect with the Amazon AWS ecosystem, especially its services like with an EC2, S3 and so on. Similar way for this Amazon Q, it offers a different CLI that is called the Amazon Q CLI, which again you can authenticate with your builder account, and then you can connect with your specific Amazon Q service, and then you can ask questions from the CLI. It depends upon how you want to connect to the Q and use. Sometimes the DevOps people may find it convenient to use the CLI tool because they are more convenient with using the command line interface, while developers like us might sometimes want to connect with the Q through the chat interface because we have the provision to switch between chat and agent as well. That's how it's working. So what's the difference between this chat and agent is like chat is mainly about generating the content based on the context of the code and whatever we are prompting. It can guide you with answers, suggestions. It can generate code and all on those behalf of you. Now the agent mode is something a bit advanced. Like in addition to generating context, it also have a feedback mechanism. So whatever we are providing information through the prompt, the underlying foundation model, which in this case for the Amazon Q is the Cloud Sonnet, it understands that along with the information which Amazon had added on top of that, and then it will form an execution plan. It's split into certain tasks. So if you're mentioning like I want to write some unit test cases for some applications which I am developing. So what it happens is like based on the prompt you provide, it identifies the plan and then it creates different tasks, and that is assigned to the different agents, and then those agents will actually work on behalf of you behind the scenes, and it will edit the files, it can write unit test, it can correct the code. Sometimes you will be experiencing issues building an application, and Amazon Q can help you to fix that issue as well. So all those can be done with the help of this agent. So previously 2 years back when I was having the session about the Code Whisperer and about the Code Whisperer and also about the generative AI services like Bedrock, then agents were not popular. Nowadays you can see the popularity of agentic AI systems getting popular. And this is not related to this sessions. And if you're interested in learning more about agentic AI, if you're interested in learning more about the agentic AI, there are different resources available. Basically, on a short note, I can mention like you can use the Strands framework, which you can easily develop agents for you. This is one of the framework that is provided by AWS, which is developed using the Python language. But you don't have to learn more deep about Python or anything to develop agents, because Strands framework offers a lot of custom connectors by which you can do a lot of your agentic workflow activities just by using that framework itself. And once you have that, you can deploy that onto a container or on an runtime like Agentic or runtime, which is available within the AWS. So in very minimal code, you can develop applications using the Strands framework. There will be a session I planning to have on that soon that will be coming up. But on a general idea, you can check about Strands framework where you can develop application, especially the Agentic AI application. So if you want to something, again, this is not related to Amazon Q, but for our understanding, if you want to connect your existing applications to any models, or you want to get an inference out of the generative AI, you can use the Amazon Bedrock service, where it offers a lot of models, including Cloud, Gemini, the GPT models, and so on. So that you can, using an API, you can connect to that service and you can use those models. So it's a kind of a scalable API by which your applications to connect and can use that service, especially related to generative AI use cases like summarizing some content, or to generate an image, or if you want to make some manipulations to the image using the generative AI to generate a new blog or something in a programmatic way, and also other use cases as well. So I have had a few episodes for that already, which is available in my podcast, so feel free to check it out. Now, coming back to the way we were discussing about the different ways by which we were integrating with the Amazon Q. So we could connect to the Amazon Q from our IDE like Visual Studio Code, IntelligentJ, and other supported IDEs. You can connect to Amazon Q using your builder account. That's one of the easiest way to do that. The another way is like using the Amazon CLI, AWS CLI, QCLI in specific. So CLI, there are two different kinds of CLI. One CLI is for connecting to the AWS service, and other one is for connecting to the Q, especially to the Q service, the Amazon Q service. So QCLI is available, and you can authenticate it using the builder account, AWS builder account, which you can create for free, and that way you can access. So DevOps may find that CLI as a convenient way to interact with the Amazon Q for asking anything about the AWS. You can also ask any questions other than AWS as well, but the queue is optimized for AWS in specific. You can ask about any doubts, just like you think of just like an expert friend with a lot of knowledge about the AWS. That way you can connect to the Amazon Q service. Then another way is like if you're on the go, if you're traveling and you don't have access to your laptop, Visual Studio Code, or the console, then another way to interact with the Amazon Q is you can install the AWS mobile app. This mobile app is not specifically for Amazon Q, but using the Amazon mobile app, it includes the Amazon Q, so that you can use the Q service even when you are away from the desk. Because this is connected to your Amazon account, sometimes if you are on the go and if a friend was saying, or a colleague was saying about some specific service issue or something, something happened in your in the organization account, then if you have access to that using the mobile app, you can interact with the corresponding Q service, and then you can ask Q the issues, and it can help you to troubleshoot as well. So if you are using the Amazon Q and if it's connected to your organization account, then it can help you to understand better about that service, better about a specific service issue or some configuration issue, even while commuting, and it can help you to fix. So it's like the mobile experience is actually optimized for basically quick questions and status checks, and also it's actually helpful for kind of an on-the-go AWS management. Now, these are the different ways. Now, again, we coming back to the way by which we connect to the Amazon Q through the Visual Studio Code. Here, how it helps as a developer, whether you are a C# developer or a Java developer or a Node.js or Python developer. How Amazon Q helps you with the development activities is similar to the Copilot. It can provide suggestions and completions, especially the intelligent recommendations. And these recommendations and suggestions are based on your project context. Project context in the sense like if you're within the Visual Studio Code, whatever whatever folder you have added or whatever project you have added for that context, that is the project context. So the recommendations that Q provides for you is based on that context. And it's also not just based on your context. On top of that, it's the intelligence from the underlying model, which is the cloud, Sonnet, and also the AWS best practices and documentation, which AWS enriched on top of that AWS Q service, and also the best common identifiable patterns and suggestions, which Amazon had in these past years. Like they have started these services from around 2006 onwards. So a lot of well-established frameworks and patterns are already in place in documentation. So based on the recommendations that the Q service suggests is actually based on all these. It's based on your project context. It's based on the AWS best practices and also the as well-established common patterns that are out in place. Then one example that I can mention is like when I started using Amazon Q for writing a Lambda function. In addition to the basic Lambda function, it also provides suggestions for error handling and also based on whatever we need specific to the use case, it also can help you to suggest other AWS services or SDK calls as well. Everything it will include based on the type of language which we are used for developing the Lambda. So Lambda, as you know, is a serverless where you can focus on your business logic without bothering too much about the infrastructure like the EC2 or something. So everything, whatever you need to do specifically for your business use case, you can write in any of the supported languages like a C#, Java, the Python, JavaScript, and so on. And at that time, it based on the context and the use cases that you provide as a prompt, you can you can provide in a couple of ways. One is through the chat interface, you can provide as a prompt, and then you can switch over to that agent mode. You can also have the agent mode by default, and you can ask questions, and it will automatically, what it does is it will automatically write the Lambda code for you based on whatever language you want. If you're a C# developer who don't know to write Python code, still you can use the Amazon Q to write a Python-based Lambda so that it will create the code for you. It will integrate the code for you so that you can ensure that it will be based on the best practices, AWS best practices. AWS also has the well-established framework principle which can help you to build scalable, resilient, and fault-tolerant application. So all those best practices will, by default, you will be getting from this Q service. I don't think even if you have a friend who are expert in this, you may not be getting this kind of flexibility and this much enriched knowledge from a system like Amazon Q. So this is actually helpful. And this is the reason why nowadays the services are coming up with autonomous facility to self-heal based on these principles so that it reduces the dependencies of the developers. Now, one of the main difference I felt working with the Amazon Q as an AI assistant is here the choice of models will be a kind of, you will feel like it a bit limited, but what happened underneath the scene is like the cloud model, like the cloud sonnet is the foundation model used, and on top of that Amazon already enhanced that model with its own repository of different documentation, AWS and AWS best practices, and based on the prompt that you provide, it automatically adjusts behind the scene so that it will offers the best answer for you without the need for switching to a different model. This is important to clarify because if you work on other models like other AI systems like Copilot, there you have the flexibility to choose the models like GPT-4, you can GPT 2.0 on cloud 4.5. Based on your requirements, you need to select that actually. But here actually, Amazon Q is optimized based on, automatically optimized based on your prompt. So it will automatically identifies the correct responses. It will select the best tailored model. Even though it's using like a cloud sonnet as the foundation model, it's also have a variations of internal models which is optimized for different needs, and then it will provide the exact answer. So that will make actually a bit more easier for you. In addition to that, it also provides experimental model as well. Like you could see as of now, the time of this recording, you can see also a kind of a experimental model of the cloud sonnet, which is also available on top of the existing model. So that way you can, so what this means is that if you are in a code file within the Visual Studio Code, it focuses on providing the programmatic assistance. And whenever you chat with that, if you ask about a question about S3 or CloudFormation or EC2, it focuses or it uses a model of or a version of the cloud sonnet, which was emphasized for cloud architecture knowledge. Also, while troubleshooting, if you are facing some issues and you are using AWS Q from the console, it prioritizes the diagnostics and solution-oriented responses. So that means as a developer or as a DevOps person or whoever who interact with the Amazon Q, we don't need to worry about selecting the right model. Amazon Q automatically adapts to your needs automatically. And the question next comes to everyone's mind is, what is the price of this? Actually, you can start using Amazon Q for free. And by free account itself, you get a kind of access to the chat functionality, code suggestions. But there will be some limited agent interactions per month. There will be a small cap but that is perfect for individual developers who want to try to use Amazon Q for personal projects. So that means that if you have a personal laptop, you can install Visual Studio Code and install the extension for Amazon Q from the VS Code itself, sign in using the builder account, and you can start using Amazon Q. And a generous free tier options AWS is giving for us. So this includes code completions, chat conversations, agent mode usage, and so on. So this will be enough. And you can also have a pro version, which is a priced model. And this is mostly for intensive usages, especially Amazon, those who want to have unlimited conversations. And then enhanced agent capabilities. And if you want to have some priority access to new features and all, then Q Developer Pro will definitely helpful. And this Q Developer is actually for professional developers and teams who were relying on Amazon Q as a core part of their development workflows, especially for organizations who use AWS services with their existing applications or to develop new applications. then they by default have an AWS account, and most of the organization will have a Amazon Q service which they provide along with the Q business as well, so that both of these Q developer pro as well as the Q business together by which it helps the developer to develop better applications. The security point I have touched a bit earlier, like your code will stay safe because this Q is developed based on considering the enterprise security and data privacy principles. That means that the code which we are used in the context or the conversation which we have are not used to train Amazon Q's underlying models for other customers. It is just for you. So whether you are working with your proprietary code, Amazon uses that information just to help you, but it doesn't store it or permanently or share with others. That's the trust that Amazon AWS ensures for us. And also Amazon Q services integrate with your existing security model. So it respects our IAM permissions, and what that means is if you are using Amazon Q within the enterprise, by default they provide you the Amazon Q, but they have restricted your access or IAM permission to access certain services. So even though if you ask Amazon Q about a questions like, say for example, what is there in that bucket, it won't provide you answer because actually it respects, Amazon Q actually respects the IAM principle behind the scene. And for an organization, different users will be, or different developers will be working within that account. Sometimes it will have a different account as well. An organization itself have multiple accounts and everything can be wrapped under the AWS organization to treat it as a single logical unit. But actually, again, within an account, even within an account, there will be different users and roles, and the organization admin already might have set some different permissions to access certain resources for specific person. For example, if I am a developer, I shouldn't need access to the production data unless if I need in some exceptional cases, or even if I need, it might be in a read mode as well. So that all things will be set up in that IAM, and one of the feature of this Q service is that it respects that IAM permissions by default. So even if you are asking Amazon Q something about the production data, it won't provide that data for us because it's actually respects the existing IAM permissions. Even though Amazon won't share our code or the questions for training other models or for other customers, still it's a good practice to keep sensitive informations apart from this chat in this queue systems. It's from a best practice perspective. So avoid sharing highly sensitive informations, especially API keys, passwords, or if your organization have some proprietary algorithms in your conversations with Amazon Q, better to not share those with Amazon Q. So your focus as a developer should be on getting help with the architecture patterns, structures, or the general best practices of AWS that help with development activities rather than sharing the sensitive credentials. Then to get the better out of the context. So before we move into the best practices, let's clarify the agent versus chat mode once again. So if you install the AWS Q CLI extension for your Visual Studio Code, you can interact with the queue in a chat mode. Chat mode can be think of like a conversation with an AWS expert. Just like you chat with a friend, you can ask questions, get answers, and can follow up with more questions to dive deeper. This mode is used by a lot of people, especially developers, for learning purpose, to learn more about the new services. They might sometimes use for troubleshooting. Example, if I connect my application to S3 and I try to access something from S3 like an object or a file, and if some error happens, I can ask Amazon Q for troubleshooting that. Similarly, with existing code or large chunks of code, if we go through that code and read one by one, it will be difficult to get an explanation of that, or to understand better about that specific part. In that case, you can ask Amazon Q you can just mention to that, like, can you explain about that specific method? And then it can automatically identify that method. It uses the semantic search based on tokens, and then it identifies the specific method and it can provide you the explanation. So underneath, the cloud Sonnet model is used for providing explanation, but that explanation will be based on your context as well as based on the best practices which AWS already provided to Amazon Q. Also, you can explore ideas as well. So if you have some specific ideas in mind to improve the application or to improve the customer experience, you can ask that to Amazon Q and it can provide you suggestions. So this will go like a natural conversation because Amazon Q remembers the context of your discussion. You can identify that in the chat interface where you can start different conversations. So each conversations will stay within, so that Q can understand the context of your discussion. So if you were having a discussion about what we call connecting with the S3 or improving its security or something, you can ask another chat. You can open another chat tab to chat about EC2 or CloudFormation template. And if you want to develop a specific, if you already developed some specific Lambda function and you want to find out the best practices for deployment, then you can open another chat tab and you can ask questions about that. So this is about the chat mode. Then the next mode is agent mode. Agent mode is actually an action-oriented mode. Like I discussed before, agentic systems can understand the prompt. It can form plans and split that into different tasks and assign to these agents. And these agents will work, and based on the outcome of that agents, it can again go through a feedback loop to improve further and further iteratively until the specific goal what we are provided in the prompt is achieved. So prompt, plan, and iteration in a interactive way is what the characteristics of agent, and multiple agents can also work together. So that agent mode is also available in Amazon Q. You will get that by default when you install the specific extension within the VS Code, or whether you are using AWS CLI or whatever way, its agent mode is there actually. So it can help you to implement new features. If you want to add some new features like uploading something to S3 or to delete something from S3 based on your business needs, you can implement that feature. Basically, you can think of it like as a expert programmer where you provide instructions and that programmer will write code for you. It can also help you to refactor the code. Sometimes when you move deep into the development, sometimes the code get a lot of code will becomes like the exact term for that is called a kind of a spaghetti way, like everything will be there in a specific class, and the code will be hard to maintain and to understand. In that case, you may need to do some kind of a refactoring. So refactoring is a kind of a huge work for most of the developers, because they need to first understand what is there in that class, and they need to break it into separate specific class based on that solid principles or whatever. They can move that into specified helper classes to reduce the burden of the main method, so that each method will become leaner and follow the single responsibility principle. But this is, if you plan to do this by your own, it demands a great deal of attention and focus. But Q can help you to do that for you. Q refactoring in agent mode, especially in agent mode, it can help you to refactor the code. And also, if you want to do something multi-step, especially based on output from the code, you want to check another thing, it can also be done with the help of this agent mode. That means that you can ask to develop a new feature or fix a bug. It can analyze the code base, suggest changes, implement solutions. So you can think of just like an expert coding partner or a friend who help you to understand. Now, before we winding up, we understand about the best practices for interacting with the Amazon queue. Basically, you interact with the Amazon queue through prompts actually. So the quality of the response from the Amazon queue heavily depends on how you interact with the Amazon queue. One thing is like instead of asking generic questions, like say for example, you are asking like, how do I deploy my app? You understand about that app. You might be developing some Lambda app and you might be thinking like, okay, how I deploy my app? So if you already opened that Lambda and then you ask these questions, then Amazon Q can figure it out. Okay, this is a Lambda and this developer is asking about how to deploy this app, Lambda app, and it can try to figure it out actually. But if you don't have any context or anything opened up, like any file or anything opened up, and if you simply install the extension and if you open the chat window and ask like, how do I deploy my app? In that case, you have understanding that, okay, you are asking Q to deploy a Lambda app, but Q may not have an idea. So the idea is like, whenever you provide a prompt, ensure that you are providing the correct context there, either by opening that specific project, or if it is a new project and you want to learn something, be specific about. One example is like, you can ask, instead of asking how do I deploy my app, you can ask like, how do I deploy a Node.js application to wherever you want to deploy. Node.js application can be deployed to in multiple ways. Like you can deploy the Node.js application to container, or you can deploy that to an AWS Lambda for taking benefit of the serverless in various ways. Like you can deploy using the pipeline, or you can use the AWS CLI to deploy as well. So be specific and ask like, in this case, how do I deploy a Node.js application to AWS Lambda using the AWS CLI? This makes things clear for the queue to understand, okay, this person is asking specifically about this scenario. So the more specific you are about your technology stack, deployment task, and tools, and the more accurate or targeted the Amazon's response will be. So the basic point is like, you should think whether Amazon Q understand my question or not. Think of it like as a next person who understand the context or not. Second thing is, during the debugging or troubleshooting time, please describe what you are trying to achieve or accomplish from that. In case if you already tried something, mention that. And in case you already got some error messages, include that in the context so that Q can offer better suggestion. One example is like when you try to connect to Lambda, sometimes it might get the timeout error, and you can have a kind of a Lambda connect to RTS in a couple of different ways. And in addition to that, to make things sometimes complex, might be your Lambda maybe within the VPC and might have security groups and all of that. And maybe because of that restrictions, the connection to the RDS or the database might be getting timed out. So the Lambda is trying to connect to the RDS or the database, but if it was a direct connection, it would work actually. But for the sake of isolation and for the sake of security, we might have implemented the VPC or security group. In that case, the restrictions from within the VPC and security groups might be preventing the Lambda to access that specific RDS or vice versa. In that case, what you can mention is like whatever you have included along with that specific applications. Like in this case, along with Lambda, you are using VPC and security groups, and whatever you have done that, please include that as some form of an information to the queue so that it understands the context in a better way. So Amazon AWS is always improving the queue so that in the near future might be from within the context of that account itself, this queue can figure it out to some extent what you're trying to achieve. But in case if you're not getting a proper answer, please be as specific about the context, especially while troubleshooting. Then also, if you want to do something and if you don't have an expertise in AWS, then mention it accordingly during the prompt, so that what happens is like Q can help based on that sessions. And another thing is you can also store this as a template from within the in a specific folder, so that whenever you ask prompt, it will consider the existing template, the questions as well. So if you are a beginner or if you have some specific expertise about something, you can ask in that way. One example is like if you are already an expert in MongoDB and if you want to learn more about the DynamoDB in more details, these are somewhat related. There will be difference in the vendor features and all, but still again these are somewhat related. So you can mention that and then the queue can provide you suggestions based on that. Similarly, if you are a DevOps person and you want to learn more about something, mention it accordingly so that it can provide the exact answers. Now, different teams might be using this queue in a different way. Development teams case, like we discussed before, they might be using in the queue in their IDE to help with the coding and development activities. Then the operations team might be using the console, AWS console, to troubleshoot issues. They might also use to understand the different existing service configurations. Sometimes they use to get the best guidance or the best practices as well. Similarly, the DevOps might experience sometimes issues in live. So at that time, they can ask Q about the potential causes and the resolution steps as well. Similarly, there are other categories of developers which fall under the architecture team, where they are heavily focusing on architectures. They might use the Amazon queue either through the CLI or through the console or from the ID itself to explore the different design patterns, understand service capabilities, and validate architectural decisions. If they want to try it out, ideally, in most of the case, architects use the VS Code interface, CLI extension to ask questions about that, and they can also try it out like by developing a sample applications to check out a POC before they suggest that approach to someone else. Similarly, those who want to use the queue for learning and development, they can use queue as a learning tool. They can ask specific questions about the new services, getting explanations of complex concept and so on. Similarly, a queue can also help you to help with the, developing infrastructure as a code or to understand about the existing cloud formation template. Those of you who are having no idea about the cloud formation, actually it's a kind of in a way by which you can provide the infrastructure as a kind of a code fashion, so that you can store that in repository. You get the flexibility of having the infrastructure as a code, so that anytime you can revert back or add new features. So in this case, Amazon Q can help you to read and understand the existing CloudFormation template. You can learn whether it is creating the specific resources correctly, or if you want to validate it, you can check it out. So this is actually helpful, especially when developers who want to deploy something as infrastructure as a code, and if they have no idea about the infrastructure as a code platform, then infrastructure as a code approach, then Q can help you to understand it. Then before we winding up, let's quickly wrap it up. Install the Amazon Q CLI in whatever way you prefer. Use while interacting. Use specific questions that provides context. Try experimenting, and also try different prompts. So some of the prompts are that which you can use are one example I can provide. If you want to develop a .NET Core program to read from S3 and to display the files, then to understand how this S3 and your application works, then you can provide a prompt something like create a new .NET Core console program to read from S3 and display files. I need it to list all objects in a specified bucket and show their names and sizes. So this is a exact prompt. Once again, the prompt, this is just an example prompt, create a new .NET Core console program to read from S3 and display the files. I need it to list all objects in a specified bucket and show their names and files. So based on this, what Amazon Q will do is it understands your intention from the prompt. It will first create a complete console.NET Core application structure. Then to connect with the S3, it will automatically install the AWS SDK for .NET integration. It will also include proper error handling and async patterns. And for storing the credentials, you need the credentials to connect to the S3 from your applications. And that credentials, it will store that in environment variables for the sake of security. It won't directly hardcode that in the code base. So these all things Amazon Q will do for you. And finally, it will add code to iterate through the S3 objects and display information as it provides. And you can go through the code, and then if you want to have some improvements, you can again provide a command in agent mode. So make sure that your the Q CLI is in agent mode turn on option to achieve this, and then you can connect. And similar way, if you want to connect your existing legacy applications to take advantage of the generative AI features from Amazon Bedrock. For example, your existing application have a description section, and you want to add a summary section for that application as well. So without the help of generative AI, this will be difficult to achieve. So in this use case, you want to use the generative AI. So what you can do is you can open that existing application in VS Code, and then turn on the agent mode, provide an information, a prompt like here is my existing program. Please connect it to AWS Bedrock. Use the content from the description and summarize it as a paragraph, and use the whatever model that you prefer. You can provide as a cloud or model. So while you provide information to the as a prompt to the CLI, make sure that you include the specific model. So the exact prompt will be like this. Please find the existing application. This application is working fine, but I need it to connect to AWS Bedrock to summarize the paragraph and provide a summary at the top of this specific section. Please use cloud as the model, and please include secure development principles as well while developing. So once you provide this clear prompt, then what Amazon Q will does is its agent starts understanding that, and then it will set up the Bedrock client setup and configuration. Then it will add code for invocating the code for cloud, and the validation, and the proper JSON formatting for Bedrock API. Then it will input the data from the description, and then it will collect the return back from the Bedrock API and display it properly on the application. So everything it will do. Sometimes when it adds a lot of code like this, sometimes you might find build error, and you can also see like Amazon Q will try to recover it, rebuild it again and again after fixing each error. So this is natural. In agent mode, it tries to build it until it gets succeeded. So experiment. So try with the different variations and see how the different prompts work, and this will help you to understand Q in a better way. So with that, we can wind up this episode. Hope this episode was useful for you to understand about the Amazon Q. This is actually similar to the other AI agentic services like the Microsoft Copilot or the Gemini or ChatGPT. What sets apart is like the integration with the AWS ecosystem and the improvements that AWS made on top of this to support the AWS development workflow. So if you are a person or a developer or anyone who involved in AWS development, definitely this is worth to try. And also if you are interested in AWS services, you have to try this out to get an understanding about this, and try it with the different prompts, experiment, provide clear prompts, then providing vague prompts or generic prompts, and then be specific about the prompts, or provide the corresponding context by opening that specific file, and then this will help you to understand or make the best use of this Amazon Q service. Thanks everyone for tuning into Coding Talks podcast. Have a great day. Thank you. We will come up with another episode soon.